All right. Hi, this is Dev Private Radio, a podcast about tackling various development challenges to help us push our limits. We come up with challenges, then complete them, and talk about how they were solved every other week. We encourage anyone who is interested in playing around in programming, game development, writing, and various other challenges to join in the fun. With me, as always, is Matt.
I've got a beard.
And I'm Pete, and I've got face mold.
Face mold.
Yep. Like that one comedian said, I forget his name. I think it's Yakov Smirnov. When I was born, they broke the mold, but it grew back.
Yeah. Or in Soviet Russia, beard shaves you.
Oh, gosh. I probably got the comedian wrong, so I apologize. All right, so last podcast challenge was...
Maybe. So what was the challenge?
Are you still having troubles hearing me, Matt?
Yep. But what was the challenge?
The challenge was to create a days of life left to live calculator with a test bed.
And
I
didn't have to do any research on this one.
I also did no research. That's becoming a theme, I think.
Well, we're gonna have to fix that. But at least the game dev ones we do research on.
Yeah, I've got actually a fun one for the next time I do a programming one. So stay tuned for that, Matt.
All right. So I guess the next thing on our list is we discuss our methods. And you may go first.
Oh, really?
Well, it's your challenge. Usually the person who presents the challenge goes first, right?
All right, let me share my
just
screen.
made that up.
Let me share my screen. Let me turn my camera off because you don't want to see my wall. All right. Here we go.
This is a Wonder Wall.
The Wonder Wall. Okay. So, I believe I'm on the right one.
You can see code. It looks like you're... Well, I can
Yes.
barely read it.
Oh. Well, let me open it up then. You know what? I'm gonna download these really quick.
Public class life left. Public class test. Class tests.
Yeah, so I have two files. I have the test.java file and the lifeleft.java file. The test is going to handle all the testing stuff. This class right here is just a simple Boolean function. You toss in a string, which tells you the test name, and then a Boolean, which you really just run a function and call the equation, and I consider that my Boolean, which is what's returned by that function there anyway. And then this will return the test name and whether it passed or failed. It's a very simple testing framework that I just built. Okay. So this right here is my first two tests, and I wrote all of these 16 lines of code. I know. Change your pants. I wrote all 16 lines of code with without writing any actual functional code. This is all just the testing stuff.
Right.
So I then, let me get back to my browser. Here we go. Oops, I had you on the wrong one. This is actually the first two tests. Anyway, carrying on. My first 2 tests pass. Apparently I didn't. Okay. Well, just know that I did go through an iterative process. I ran all this on my my alternate Linux. I have a Linux box that I use for most of my development. Well, not a Linux box, but a Linux. What do you call that? I dual boot into Linux. Anyway, so yeah, that's why the actual files aren't available to me right now.
You just call it a dual boot box.
Yeah. So I took pictures. So this is the first 4 tests pass after I made these 19 lines of code. This main function is actually not even useful right now. So what I do is I crunch the numbers through the weeks to live, and then I crunch them through the days to live. And each of these tests, well, I did not. I actually ended up with something like 8 or 10 tests. Hold on. Let me open it up on the paste bin because this will actually be the last thing I ended up with. Let me pause sharing for a minute.
Should have.
That didn't work. I didn't stop the sharing, did I?
No.
Now everyone knows my email address. Don't send me email.
Too late. You're going to get 3 million emails. They're all going to be spam.
Crap. All right. So my pastes. That's a database receipts challenge. Hold on. Matt, why don't you go while I'm figuring mine out?
All right. Share and share alike.
Stop that.
And so, I created the function. I tried to take care of as many things as I could. So I created a class for handling the date.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I create the class, it's going to give me the days since UTC, which is like since 1976, December 21st or something like that.
I think it's January 1st, 1970.
Whatever. Some weird random date. And then I do, I created this function, get current date, specifically so I could overwrite it in the test.
Okay.
And the reason why you do that is when you're doing unit tests, you're only testing 1 unit of code, and in particular, it'd be get days left.
Right.
In order to do that, I use get current date inside of here, and one of the things that that we may want to do is someone comes up and they go, so I ran this on whatever day, and it gave me back these amount of days, and it was wrong. So in order to test that exact scenario, I could either set my system clock back to that date and then run it, or I can just put it inside one of these tests and run it.
Good call.
And so if I overwrite the get current date, I can set the current date to be whatever date I want it to be. And then it will give me the amount of days left from that date.
Yeah, that checks out.
So anyway, that's why I specifically set that. My HTML is very basic. It's just an output window and loads the scripts, estimate and estimate.test.js. And so I go to my test code. And I create, I have an object called test object, and it has all the things that I want, sex, year, month, day, the current year, current month, current day, and that's what I use to set the create current date, the expected value, and whether I want it to pass or not. And so I have all these tests. I tested myself first, also myself as a female.
Matt, if you had a sex change, you'd live longer.
That's statistically true. And then I just said I think it was the date I started the test, so October 3rd and October 4th.
Uh-huh.
And then I just put in different ones. Like I wanted to see whether it would pass if it was just only 1 day left or 0 days left for the person. So I did that both for male and female. And then I did 42 years old for male and female.
Nice.
And so my code, as you can see, is just gets the straight amount of days since that whatever date. And so this will handle things like leap years and stuff like that. So whatever leap years happen, it gets the right amount of days because it's already taken care of by the UTC date.
Nice.
And so inside of so I set up all these tests, and then for the tests, I just I set the current day so that I can so when I overwrite this current date method, because as you know in JavaScript you can overwrite a function. You can do it in most other languages. That's how unit test works. We do this in C#. I've done it in C++. I've done it in, I think those are the only 2 languages I've done unit tests in. But you can overwrite things in unit tests. And you do that so that you're only testing the one thing. And the one thing I'm testing is the get days left function. So I set the current date. And then I see if the amount of days I get returned from that function is the amount expected. And then I test whether it passed or failed, and then I just return all the information. So when I run it, it looks something like this. As soon as it connects. I don't know why it's taking so long. All right. And that's it. So it runs all of these passed, and then it tells me it passed. Now, if I were to, I could probably run it locally. And if I run it locally, then I can show you what happens if a test fails. So let's just take this last one. I know that this is true. I'll just change the day by 1. And if we run it, it will say show which one failed, and it'll say only 11 out of the 12 tests passed.
Nice.
I'm not sure if I put this in here yet, but that's, yeah, I did not. Not determine whether it would fail or not.
So only if it returns true will it work.
Yeah, I didn't actually implement that part yet. But that's usually something normal because sometimes you want to test whether it's something's going to fail or not.
Right. Right. All right. Anything else you want to cover?
I think that's it.
Okay, we'll jump back to mine real quick then.
One of the things that we do in unit tests that I wanted to cover was sometimes we get a real-world scenario and we just plug that right into the test, and we use that real-world scenario as a test.
That makes sense.
And that's what we normally use unit tests for mostly.
That seems like it'd be the most useful.
Well, you do try and cover all of your bases before with some unit tests, but then as soon as you detect a problem, you need something more specific. And so real-world examples are usually the best because you'll never be more innovative than a user just accidentally doing something.
Right, right. Okay. So going back to mine, this is the final product that I came up with. There's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 9 tests? 8 or 9 tests? 8. I can count. There's 8. Okay. So the first test, this is the name, and everything you need to know is right in there. Then you run the function and test for equality. And this function will then return either pass or failed. Anyway, so I just have those test cases.
And sorry, my Wi-Fi just randomly disconnected. No, keep going.
Oh, that's great. Well, hopefully my audio still came through. Okay, so after a little bit of refactoring, just very little, I did very minimal stuff on here because that is kind of a side product or a side benefit of test-driven development, is that I don't have anything in here that I don't need to complete the requirements. And I have enough that I can be confident that the code that I've written, if you break something or if something is broken, I can be confident that it wasn't me, and that once you break something, you'll know. So that's what all those tests kind of establish for me. Then, so right here, I just have one simple function. If gender is male, return age or 75 minus age times 52. Else, there's the woman math. And then you take the weeks to live, run it into days to live, and then you just multiply that return function by 7. I would say that is kind of hackish because you've got one function relying on another like that. But they can be tested independently, I guess. But I just didn't see the point in doing this math because I did that already, and then doing another layer of math. I could have mixed them together, I guess, but I thought it might be useful to see weeks as well as days, so I just split them up.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, there's 16 lines of code there, and there's 22 lines of code of testing. So pretty small, concise, works. That's the important part.
Working is the most important part.
Yeah. And it was quick. I wrote a test. I wrote that one. Then I wrote just enough, which was return 1716. And then I did the second test. So I had to add in woman, and then it said if male, return 1716, else return 2080. Then I did, okay, so a 42-year-old man has this many days, essentially the same thing. So I just added the days left to live function. And then this one I actually had to say, okay, so a 75-year-old man has 0 days to live. This is when I actually had to say, all right, here's some math program. And then I turned those into math, one at a time, actually. I didn't do this one because this one was not required to make this test pass. So very, very limited touching of code.
Right, but you can still throw in real-world examples into the tests, which is one of the most important things.
Yeah, yeah. I am confident that if you tossed in any age in here and ran it through either the weeks or days, it would work. I'm not even worried a little bit. The only problem would be is if you had tossed out somebody who is over 82. I did not add error handling. And
well, they'd be dead, obviously. No one lives past 82.
Right. I also didn't do younger than 0. So there's no input verification either.
They would be dead too.
That's right. All right. So yeah.
So we have next challenge.
Our next challenge. Oh, sorry. Did I cut you off?
I was just saying next challenge, and then our project catch up.
Yes.
Our weekly status meeting.
All right. So the next challenge. This is just a brief summary. I want you to design. This is going back to the game development challenge. So you design an enemy, their animations, actions, and some minimal AI. I don't want you to do anything crazy with the AI, especially since you don't even know what your levels will look like yet. Probably, unless you're Matt. So yeah, just simple enemy, simple animations and actions, and minimal AI. That will be a lot of work for me. It won't be a lot of work for Matt, but it will probably be a lot of work for anyone else.
No, I think it'd be a lot of work for anyone.
I hope so. But sometimes it just feels like when I look at your game compared to mine, I'm just like, ooh, my 11-year-old daughter could do better than that.
Well, she has more free time.
It's true, and definitely more artistic sense than me.
All right. So last week we didn't do anything on Gears of Fate.
No.
Did you do anything for Dev Pirates, like writing up an article?
I did not write an article, though I meant to.
I started writing an article. I did not finish it.
I have one in mind. I'll have to write it up again. It's all about something you can do but shouldn't, called looking for number ranges using only regular expressions. It's so much fun.
Sounds dumb.
No, Matt. No.
No, it's like one of those. It's like one of those puzzles you do.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously another way to solve the problem, but it's not fun because you're supposed to do it in the puzzle.
Exactly. You could totally solve this by just tossing your number range into a calculator and seeing whether it was larger or smaller. But no.
I think sometimes that's really good to not really test out the language itself, but to test out your knowledge of the language.
Yeah. And even though I may not ever use that, like to find a number range, there may be a situation where I run into in the future and I'm like, wait, I have regex powers.
Right. That's mostly what it is. Pulse, I don't know. I think it just helps work out your brain.
Yeah.
Did you work on No One Can Hear You last week?
I did not.
Alrighty. Hey, I've been working on Endangered Kingdoms slowly. Still working on the model for the main character.
Nice.
Not nice. It's been forever since I've been working on that.
Well, I mean, Matt, you're doing well.
No, not on that project. For Ride, I've completed. I'm done with Zone 2, so I'm starting work on the enemies for Zone 3.
Nice.
Probably gonna do the same pattern. I'll do the enemies, they'll do the cutscenes, and then I'll do the levels. And then and that's it for each zone.
Is Zone 3 the last one you're tossing in?
No, there's 4 zones altogether, 3 levels apiece.
Okay.
So game's half done. I did figure out, and I did have to do, because I added the 4 zones, and I hadn't done all the upgrading of the ship yet. So I did that also this week. Nice. So all the upgrades are already programmed in and ready to go. So I don't have to worry about that again. There's a small growing bug list.
Uh-oh.
Like the music, you can't stop the music during a level like you're supposed to be able to. And also, it continues after you minimize the game, which is annoying.
Ooh, interesting. It's not seeing the whatever that flag or event handlers. Yeah, the event.
It's normally when you minimize it, it's supposed to send a signal saying, "Hey, I'm paused now." But I think it has something to do with not being able to disable the music during the level. I'm using the same music object during all the other parts where you can disable the music, so I'm not sure exactly what's going wrong with the level specifically. But I'll figure it out. It'll be there somewhere.
Okay.
But yeah. So yeah, Zone 3 enemies are next. There's one less of them for this set of zones. Because I've been doing 3 bosses and 1 new enemy, basic enemy type.
That seems to hold with what I can remember from that style of game. I mean, not like you're following a format.
Yeah, well, yeah. They usually don't add too many new enemies.
Yeah, they might change their color if they're tougher, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm still having fun playing the game.
Yeah. Have you been tossing up new beta builds for those of us in your beta test community?
No, I should probably update it since I got the level zone 2 done.
Nice. And maybe your voice actor will get his button gear and record the cutscenes like you need.
Well, hopefully, at least by the time I'm done doing the scenes for Zone 4.
I think that's safe to assume.
Oh yeah, I still have to write and design those scenes and then make them. So there's still a lot to do, but it's halfway done. Hopefully, I'll be able to do it slightly faster. Because I kind of want to just get this game project done so I can focus more intensely on Endangered Kingdoms.
Yeah, you plan on using Unreal for that, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. Is it going to be a third-person game?
Yeah, I'm thinking because it's kind of a mockery. Well, not really mockery. Like the gameplay is going to be like Zelda. It's going to be kind of making fun of RPGs / adventure games. So yes, it's going to be third person, top down. Well, it's going to be top down instead of just third person. Because third person gameplay is like the camera's behind the player when you're walking around.
Right, like
top down,
Assassin's
the
Creed.
camera's yeah. Whereas top down is more like you're kind of just like a bird's eye view, and you just move around following the player. You don't like you're not like behind the shoulders. You're just like a bird's eye view. And that's it.
Cool. Well, hey.
For Zombie King, I need to go over and try and make any edits or something.
Yeah. And once you're done, it doesn't need to be edits even. It could just be notes, and then I'll go through and try to incorporate those notes. But yeah, whatever you want. Also, have you seen Kung Fu Killer with Donnie Yen?
Kung Fu Killer. That doesn't sound familiar.
The Chinese name is actually Kung Fu Jungle. So if you're looking for it on IMDb, that's what it'll be. But on Netflix, it's Kung Fu Killer, and it's actually really good.
I like all Donnie Yen movies.
Yeah.
Especially the I think the first one I saw Donnie Yen in was that the Wing Chun guy.
Ip Man.
Yeah, Ip Man and Ip Man 2.
Yeah, so good. And Ip Man 3 is coming out this year or next year.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I think I saw like who was he? Oh, it was Mike Tyson. I remember seeing Mike Tyson in the preview. I don't know if it's real or not, but that was cool.
All right. Well, I think that's it for tonight. We will see y'all next 2 weeks.
Later.